I solemnly swear I will not use any expletives throughout the course of this episode. Let's jump into it.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes, your number one daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes. I am your host, Robyn Leon, alongside Matthew Jacobson. We want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We're free and available everywhere you get your podcasts. Got a interesting show on today's on today's docket because Matthew, we're disappointed. We are disappointed by the way the Coyotes lost last night. Last night when everyone's listening to this, tonight when we're all recording this, to the St. Louis Blues.
I would be lying if I said I wanted to yell, right? But it's so frustrating, and I don't know if it's I feel bad that I'm so mad at this team right now, that I'm so upset, because I get to actually talk to them now. So it's like, oh, they're good guys. Yeah, but they're frustrating me right now. They're good guys that are frustrating me right now. And I picked it up in the second period. That's when I finally woke up enough after a lack of sleep before the Rattlers press conference today. But that was just, again, people like to say embarrassing when it comes to the Coyotes for the dumbest, smallest, most insignificant stuff. I think I genuinely can call that game embarrassing. It's just flat-footed, sloppy, trying to get show-offy with the passes, and that's not their game, and they've never been good at that.
No.
One or two passes, sure, but all this extra.
And it leads to fundamental mistakes. Of all the penalties, we're going to get to all the penalties in a little bit, but I want to kind of touch on one thing, and it's a penalty that showed up specifically, Matthew, in this game that I think is one of the worst penalties you can take. They took so many of them last season that Carl and I criticized to hell, and I'm going to criticize it to hell again today. Mm-hmm. Why would you take a too many men on the ice penalty? Like, it is a fundamental flaw that I think, yes, it happens really rarely, and this was the first time they did it this season. But if it's a pattern that happened carry over from last season, I'm still going to criticize it.
If you'll allow me, I want to pull that point back a little bit. It's not even so much that it's a pattern from last year, because like you pointed out, it's the first time they've done it this year, or at least one of the first couple times they've done it this year. The issue is the rest of the game was so fundamentally sloppy. The rest of the game was so bad as a whole that was just the turd cherry on top. I know that's a little more colorful than I'm supposed to be on the show, but it's literally it's just it leaves a sour taste in my mouth, because they were terrible at this last year. They since it's not reared its ugly head yet this season, but then it shows its head as the, let me pull it up real quick. It shows up as the fifth penalty. The fifth power play opportunity, the first penalty of the second period for the Coyotes. And it was a game that was already frustrating, and now you take one, and that's not even talking about the Liam O'Brien penalty. I think that we also need to talk about that really stupid penalty that O'Brien took there, where he cross-checks Blais, cross-checks him, breaks his stick on him, and I don't care. Frankly, I don't care what was said. Because what the other player, I think it was Blais, yeah, Blais was just skating away. Like, whatever it was, I don't care. It was not major enough for whatever that was, and then he just kind of throws his gloves off and chases after him and gets two penalties on that. And Craig Morgan said it really well in the post game. That's you got to have better discipline than that. And to me, that was just an embarrassing penalty to take. It's the only word for this game for me is embarrassing. I don't know how else to describe the feeling after this.
Yeah, no, it is embarrassing. I would say is a correct term for this, just because of how frustrating those fundamental flaws are, because we know with how good of a team the team can be. The problem is, as we kind of as you touched on it at the beginning of the show, is they're trying to get too cute, trying to get too much on their skills. Like, we know this team is not a skill-based team. Yeah, sure, they've got some skill, but that's not what their focus is. That's not what the kind of team that Bill Armstrong is building. It's meant for use the body, get in front of the net, get physical. That's what they need to do. Not do these really, these fancy passes and these fancy plays.
This is and we said it, and I will stand by this. I'm not changing my mind on this. It's a fundamentally more talented team than we've had in a couple years.
Absolutely.
So much more talented than last year. But that first line, and by extension, power play 1 to a degree, and they are way over the line on this so far. And it's the more it happens, it frustrates me more, because I just get mad, and then I kind of feel bad for just being mad at these people. But it's that first line, and to a degree, the first power play is your skill based. That's your kind of finesse, a little more pretty passes. That's the only part of the team that has that identity. The rest of it needs to be like that hard nosed play. And you brought it up more than I have, so I'll lean on you for this. That they did so well last year that kept them more competitive. And while the talent is better, so they might be getting bailed out, quote unquote, in a sense, to stay in games a little closer. The defense is overall better. The goaltending's been consistently good this year. They are not good enough to get so far away from the things that they were doing well last year, that this team's identity, and it's been as 4 or 5 games in a row now where we've seen lack of a full 60 minutes and all the same problems. They're not lazy, but this team does not work hard. And I feel like a jerk for saying that, but that's the only way I think I can describe it, is the team does not work hard out there on the ice on game day.
Yeah, no, that definitely seems like a fair assessment, and I feel like that's something that should be addressed. Something that the Coyotes leadership group should get together and be like, all right, let's figure out exactly what's going on. And then I don't care if it's, like I said earlier, whatever, calling a players only meeting or doing whatever it is, but you got, like, everyone's just got to be in a room and just figure out collectively as a team realize together what they're doing wrong and how they're going to fix that.
It's something. It's got to be something, and I have no idea who to put that aspect on, because Coach Bear, I stand by it, I think did a really good job answering that question I had about the team's motor. So now I'm trying to figure out if it's not the messaging, if it's clear to me it is not the messaging from the coaching, what is the disconnect right now in terms of the effort level on the ice, and that it might need to come from the leadership group within, and it's still a young leadership group. Like, Keller, Schmaltz, Kraus, they're all young guys. They're all younger than me. They're not quite kids, but they're kind of still kids.
They're around our age. Let's put it that way. They're like roughly around that area. That just kind of tells you, like, yeah, then again, you and I have are completely different in terms of, like, how we view things. They are going to be different than how they view things, but there's a lot to it. What we're going to do, though, is we are going to continue breaking down this game. We're going to maybe see if we can talk about some of the bright sides, and then later on we're going to talk about kind of take a little quick taking a look at Saturday, when they go head to Nashville to face the Nashville Predators. We're going to get to all that in just a sec, but first, a quick word from our sponsors on today's show. And today's episode is brought to you by Parkview Advance. As a business owner, you realize there are times when receivables might fall behind. That doesn't mean you need to fall behind on vendor payments, payroll, or rent. For more than 25 years, Parkview Advance had helped business secure working capital from $5,000 to $1.5 million, ParkView Advance can approve your working capital in as little as 24 hours. It's a much easier process than you might imagine. We invite the many entrepreneurs that are locked on NHL fans to learn more by calling us at 203-675-0071 or go to parkviewadvance.com. If your business needs working capital, call Parkview Advance today. Parkview Advance, helping businesses with their working capital. Go to parkviewadvance.com.
And today's episode is also brought to you by collective.com. If you run a solo small business, you're an army of one, but you still need a CPA, bookkeeper, separate payroll solution, and more. Let Collective take care of the paperwork while you take care of business. Collective is the #1 financial solution for freelancers, contractors, and self-employed entrepreneurs that lets you focus on your passion, not the paperwork. Collective knows that if you're a business of one that makes over $80,000 a year, you will find the most value from their services. Join the thousands of solopreneurs who have saved an average of $10,000 per year on taxes with their structure. Right now, Collective is offering 1 month free, no onboarding fee when you go to collective.com/LockedOnNHL and tell them Locked On NHL sent you. That's a $550 value for free when you go to collective.com/LockedOnNHL and tell them Locked On NHL sent you. That's collective.com/LockedOnNHL and tell them Locked On NHL sent you.
Once again, we want to thank everyone for making Locked On Coyotes your first listen every day. We're free and available everywhere you get your podcast. Also, as a reminder that you can tune into every Arizona Coyotes broadcast, their hometown broadcast, on the Sirius XM radio app or on Sirius XM in your car. If you're on the app, all you got to do is search up search up Coyotes. You can also search up Locked On Coyotes if you'd like, because you can also find our podcast as well on the Sirius XN app. But let's continue this episode, Matthew. As
Want me to go ahead and get my patented speed goal summary out of the way?
Let's get that, and then let's talk about some of the some of the, I guess, bright things we can try to take out of it. But go ahead.
All right. So 2 minutes and 16 seconds into the first period, Sundqvist, his second from Blais and Vrana, and then 13 minutes later at 15:44, Lawson Krause, and it was a pretty good setup by Keller, good shot by Krause on the power play. His fifth from Keller and Schmaltz were tied going into the second before Robert Thomas, his sixth from Buchnevich, and Krug at 6 minutes of the second, and that's your final goal. Now, that would not be the final penalty. There'd be at least 3 more penalties the Coyotes would take, including that too many men. But because St. Louis is a beer league team on the power play, they're like 3.5% this season. The Coyotes, here's the bright side, their penalty kill probably shot up going, 7 for 7, probably shot up a good 4 or 5 spots.
Oh, it was a perfect penalty kill. And see, that's the thing. The penalty kill was helping the team as much as they could. The problem is when you take that many penalties, you're not going to get any momentum at all.
Can I fight back against an excuse I heard tonight a couple of times? And I'm not calling out like a content creator or anything, just some commenters. Yes, the main guys spent a lot of time not on the ice because of the amount of penalty kills. And yes, for example, Petey, completely correct when he says that you kind of lose that ability to really establish your offense when you're off the ice that much. However, for at least the final 20 minutes, the Coyotes took no penalties. For at least the final 20 minutes, the Arizona Coyotes had the ability to get their offense out there in a 1-goal contest. When it is a 1-goal contest, I'm not willing to buy that excuse as much, because all it takes is that one shift, just one solid shift put together. And while the Coyotes had a couple decent shifts in that third period, nothing stuck out to me as being good. Nothing stuck out to me as being a high danger chance. Nothing stuck out to me as that's the play that they're going to get back in this game. And I just kind of felt like I was waiting for something to happen that never did.
No, I'm 100% with you. There was a lot of freaking situations like that. I will say this, that I feel like, that one goal, It kind of gives you an idea that for, let's just say the effort, this in general, the effort from Lawson Krause after a poor start, right? The
Mhm.
first few games, like it's like everyone's like, "Where'd he go? Where's this Lawson Krause going?" He's like, "Oh, there he is."
Doesn't it? It always takes him a few games to get going, doesn't it? He's
Yeah.
not Barrett Hayton. Barrett Hayton takes like an eighth of the season, unfortunately. But Krauser gets a little more pep in his step. But in the last 5 games, Lawson Krause has 5 goals, 1 assist, 6 points. Krauser has been excellent down this stretch. 5 goals, 3 assists, 8 points so far. So, you know, 6 of his last 8 points came in the last 5 games, and he didn't score anything against Seattle. Just to kind of show how it took him a little bit to get going, but once he gets going, he's consistent at it, and he's
Mm-hmm.
scoring in bunches right now. And what is that? Is that a 5-way tie for the leading goal scorer on the team?
I
And they
think
all have
so. Yeah.
5. It's interesting. It's very interesting that this team kind of feels like they all score together. And you got guys like Jack McBain that are on pace for like 25 goals, but then it'll go back down to being on pace for 12, then back up, then back down, and we have no idea where some of these guys are going to finish.
This team is the very definition of inconsistent. But hey, you know what? I will say this: it's like you said it earlier, and like I'll say it again right now. This team is a lot better talent. You know, has a lot better talent, and it's overall a lot better of a team than than last year. And I think we already know that. Heck, I can even turn to our NHL network or our Locked On NHL network host voted power rankings that just got released yesterday. If you guys follow us on Twitter, you're able to see what those rankings are. We do it by division. The Coyotes are fifth in the division based off our power rankings. So I mean that's I'd say that's a pretty good sign to have, right? Trying to think, they are over the Blues, still technically, and the Predators and the Blackhawks. I mean, I think there's no surprise, right? The Coyotes are a better team than all three of those teams, but this game just did not exemplify that.
Can I cut in for like 2 seconds? I just want to iterate something on this show that Craig mentioned on his. That we all I just didn't think about it because the Coyotes should be a much better team than St. Louis, so I'll fully admit to that and that mindset. But we all should have expected St. Louis to come out after being blown out on their own home ice with a better effort.
Right?
However, it didn't even really feel like St. Louis had that much better effort. And I'm not trying to
No,
take away anything from St. Louis, and if that's how it sounds, I apologize, but it really was the Coyotes came out and played so terribly.
no, yeah, no. You're 100% right. Like the Coyotes should have came in and just taken this game like with relative ease. With relative ease, they should have.
Yeah, because they're a decent team and St. Louis is a bad team. So you have, if and I think I mentioned it before, you have to be able to beat those teams you should beat. That's one of the first marks of showing you're going in the right direction and that you can be that playoff team. And again, we still say it's not going to be this year, but I want to start seeing some of those results because but then again, I also hate that I've been so right this whole season. Record wise, painful mediocrity, and it's some of the most frustrating hockey to watch.
Yeah, it definitely is. But you know what? That's part of the as I like to say when it comes to being a sports fan, you're not a sports fan unless you a true sports fan unless you feel the torture that comes with being a sports fan of a certain team. This is the kind of torture that you get as a Coyotes fan. That's what you said, that painful mediocrity where like, they're a better team, but then they just have a game like this where you're just like, God, why?
Yeah, where you want to shout expletives because it's just it's frustrating, and look, take away the penalties, take away the lack of discipline, take away a lot of things. I think this here really is they came out terrible. Shots were 15-3 in the first.
Yeah,
15-3.
that is
12-7 in the second, a little better, but 15-3 in the first period. You cannot have a road period like that, especially to start off a game. Again, embarrassing. It was just how do you play theoretically stronger against better teams and then 15-3 completely dominated in every aspect of the game in that period? And yeah, sure, the penalties have some part to play in that. But if you had better discipline and took less than 7 penalties in a 40-minute span, we wouldn't have to deal with that. We wouldn't be talking about this right now.
100%. And I'll tell you that you better hope the Coyotes have a good rebound when they go up against another team that, on paper, they should definitely be better than in the Nashville Predators. We'll talk about that coming up right after this.
And today's episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. Now, we spend a lot of time together, you and I. We get fired up together on wins and losses, who starts and who sits. I'm thankful for that connection we have. And today, I want our chat to be a little more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply on ED medications. You realize what that means, right? Bring on the extended travel, bring on the next natural disaster or supply chain issue. You are covered, my friend. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your generics for Cialis or Viagra, any of those prescriptions. And all of this is possible because of our friends at Jace Medical. Go online right now at jacemedical.com and receive your 12-month supply on your daily medications. Remember to use promo code Locked On at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jace, quote, "I am thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut my pills in half to have it. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year supply. I also ordered an antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend it for everyone. If you or someone you love would like to get some peace of mind by having a 1-year supply of any daily medication, go to jacemedical.com and see if it's offered for you. Remember to use promo code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. That's JACE medical.com. JASE. I messed that one up. We're keeping that part in so I can correct that. JASE. JASE medical.com.
Anyways, welcome back to today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. We're going to take a quick look ahead now, Matthew.
I don't want to.
Let's
Don't
put
make
this
me do
game
this.
behind us. Let's put the game behind us.
No. Look,
yes.
Can we just go back to agreeing with Leah Merrill about the veggie for McDavid 1-for-1 trade? Can we just go back to how good Vamelka played in this game? 31 saves, 2 goals against, 939 save percentage. Do we really have to look forward? Don't make me think about my life. Don't make me think about the next game for this team. Don't make me do it, Robyn.
We're going to do it.
This entire episode has just been innuendo after innuendo after smooth jazz.
Let's really take a look at it, though, because the Coyotes on paper are a much better team than the Nashville Predators, and that's who they got coming up tomorrow.
I don't even want to consider that, because the last time they were better than a team, or the time before that, or the time before that, it's just it's weird. But hey, Jason Zucker played one game early. That was good, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's good to have him back. He kind of, again, I think that's one good thing is getting him back a little bit early, so to kind of fit back into that line with Cooley, because that line works perfectly. You need that line.
God, I hate this. Okay, so team stats: Coyotes 27% of the power play, at 6th in the league. This power play, despite how frustrating it is to watch, is still a top 10 power play versus 20.4%. That's 16th. Nashville does not have a very strong power play. It's right in the middle. It's not like very strong, not very weak. It's mediocre. Penalty kill, 75.5%, 21st in the league. That 7 for 7 jumped them up a little bit. They're no longer bottom 5 or anything. But Nashville, 69.8%, 30th in the league. I need at least 2 power play goals in this game on Saturday. I'm just saying, goals for per game, the Coyotes 3.08, so it's starting to come down, but it's 18th overall in the league. And for Nashville, 2.85, it's 23rd. The Coyotes goals against 2.85, so the Coyotes are 10th in the league in that, and right there, they're probably going to. I mean, they've maintained that goals against pretty well. It's just now the goals for are going down, and then the goals against per game for Nashville is 3.23. If this team is going to salvage this road trip, because I will say it again, they are not beating Dallas. If you are going to salvage this road trip, there needs to be a definitive 4-1 win against Nashville. It needs to be taking care of business. Get out there, get the job done, and at least 2 power play goals. Take advantage of Nashville's bad penalty kill. And right now, with the effort going down consistently, I do not currently believe in this team, and I refuse to believe in them until I can see that effort going back up.
You know, you made me want to take a look at some of the advanced stats that are here, because it's freaking crazy. I'm trying to see the Coyotes are. Let's see where. Trying to find what where it is on. Yeah, they are right now 12th in the league in expected goals percentage. So they have, they're on the upper half of, having expected more goals than against. That shows that again that when they're playing, that they should be playing better. They're just not getting what they really should be getting. Because as we said, I mean, yeah, they got the wins, but they get whatever this is. Their expected goals for are 25.08, expected goals against 22.13.
I have no comments. It's not that I'm not paying attention. It's just my brain just shut down at this point. It's just literally frustration. I'm just frustration brain right now. Sorry.
No, I don't blame you. Because this team is frustrating. It is. This team is 24th in Corsi, which is
that's a defensive stat, isn't it?
Yes, it's essentially a possession stat. It's shot attempts percentage. Shot attempts that include not just shots on goal, but block shots as well as missed shots.
If it's missed shots, this team's got to be up there somewhere high, because and obviously that last Michelli shot that was deflected up high. I know he was struggling around the net earlier on in the game. I know he didn't have a great game, and that's perfectly valid. But that's the first shot I think is going to come to everyone's mind tonight, while thinking about this game, because it was one of the last ones you see. But no, the amount of times this team kind of misses the net, and but I think what hurts even their shot attempts and just the attempts for a shot is when, hey, instead of passing twice and shooting, they're doing these stupid 3, 4, 5, 6 pass cycles, and it's going the other direction. So of course you can't shoot. The puck's not in the zone anymore.
But overall, a lot of stats are showing that this Coyotes team is, it's confirming what we've already said in this episode, as well as over the course of the season so far. But this team is significantly more talented than the teams we've seen in the last couple of years. It's despite that this team frustrates the hell out of us.
And I know that tends to be one of the first steps towards competition, but they didn't even play against Bennington tonight.
No,
they didn't even get Benner. So it's like we got one of the backups. We were talking about earlier on how we were getting a lot of backups before, and then early on in the season against both New York teams, we were getting the starters. Yeah. We got a backup. We couldn't take advantage. I shouldn't say we. I'm not on the team. I am just some jackwagon that is going to be here every night because I love this team. But the Coyotes.
I just
Coyotes.
did one more look just because like Money Puck has absolutely everything on terms of stats. You can do goals percentage, right? Like total goals percentage, kind of see like, what their, goals, goals for to goals against and then you can compare it in relation to the league. The Coyotes are 8th in the league in goal percentage at 55.56%. The team that they're going against on Saturday, the Nashville Predators, are 22nd in the league at 48.65%.
That's good, right? Can
Yeah.
you dumb it
Yeah.
down for
The Coyotes are, yeah, that just shows that the talent is much in favor of the Coyotes here.
just come out one game at a time. The 1-0, 0-1, whatever his mentality, one game at a time. Come out against Nashville, take care of business. We'll preview it tomorrow, but that's kind of the only way I want to think about this team right now is just go out there, get the job done against Nashville, and we'll talk.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk. But anyways, we're out of time on today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, and subscribe if you have yet to already. We are available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube, the Sirius XM radio app, as well as ad-free on Amazon Music. Don't forget to interact with us on social media on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, and on X at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leonio. Matthew Jacobson is at the AZ Sports Guy. Interact with us, ask a question you might have. We might answer right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.